Hi, I'm Andrew Brown. Welcome to Real-Time Music and Sound with Pure Data. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the live coding toolkit for Pure Data. This is part 4 of a multi-part series on the live coding toolkit. In this one, we're going to be particularly focused on sample playback. The live coding toolkit is available for download from GitHub. You'll need to download it and install it because it includes a bunch of additional abstractions in Pure Data that extend PD vanilla. When you have got it downloaded, you need to go to your preferences in PD to the path and make sure you add a path to the folder that's got the live coding toolkit stored in it. That way PD will be able to see those additional library abstractions. Okay, let's get started. So we said we're going to be looking at sampling. We'll start with the polysample object. There is a sample and a polysample object. The polysample is clearly polyphonic. Also, I would just mention that in the live coding toolkit, there are poly versions of some other instruments like the synth and FM as well. This takes an argument. So I've got a folder called samples in which I've got some samples. I'm going to load one called C4EP.wave. This sample is just a middle C from an electric piano sound. The sample library assumes that all of the samples are natively on middle C, and then it does pitch shifting up and down from that. So from there, what we might do is send that out to an echo, because it's always nice to have a delay on things, just with an echo time and some other values for the amount of feedback, and then we'll go out from there, and I'll just patch up the stereo patches. Okay, so just for demonstration, if we put 60, which is the MIDI note number for middle C, in there, we hear the playback. Alright, so let's start making some music. So I'm going to start by having a tempo object. I've got the beats per minute there, and it's a particularly weird one because I'm going to need to line it up with a sample I'm going to use later, and then we're going to go at a quarter pulses from that tempo. We're going to use a cycle object to loop around a list, and in this case the list is going to be a list of rhythms. So I'm going to put that in here. We have previously used cycle to loop around pitches and velocities as well, but in this case we're just using it as a rhythm generator. It gets its pulses from tempo, and then it needs to generate some notes to play, some pitches to play, and to do that I'm going to use another object which is in the live coding toolkit called randchord, which does pretty much what it says. There's an outlet in the beginning. This one, when you bang it, generates a new chord, and when you bang the one on the last inlet, that will send out the chords. So we're going to use cycle to bang that. That will then sort of output the chord. If I connect that then to the polysample, turn on the tempo, put the rhythm in, and whenever I click this bang here, we get a new chord. So what we want to do is to automate that new chord. So we'll do that by getting modulo 6 and selecting the downbeat. Connect that up to the generator. Okay, if we get too far, we need to change our pitch set so we only get notes in a much more limited pitch structure. And we might also lower the minimum pitch So that pushes everything down an octave. To get those higher pitches back, we'll just extend the range a little bit, make it 2 octaves. Okay, so there's our chords. We'll add a bass line to that. We'll do something on the downbeat, which we've already got with our select here. We'll just send a root note, pass that on to an FM instrument for our bass sound, with some arguments for the timbre and the amplitude, and then send that to an out. And it'll be in stereo, and maybe a bit louder. Okay. So we can add some extra rhythms to this by increasing our select here. And then routing those to that pitch as well. Don't want that last one. Okay, so we've got chords playing, we've got our bass line playing. We might add some drums now. So to do that, I'm just going to create a bit more space for myself. I'm going to use another sample, this time a monophonic sample. And of course we'll use a drum break for this. And what better drum break than the Amen break. Okay, so that loads that sound. We can of course give it an outlet so we can hear it. Hook up the stereo output. Now this will play it through once by default, so let's just do that once and then we'll automate things. Alright, that's pretty good. But of course we want it to repeat. So the sample thing sends out a bang at the end whenever there's the finish. I'm going to put a spigot here, just a PD gate there with a toggle so I can turn that on and off. And then we're basically going to re-trigger whenever it happens. So if I turn this gate on so it does re-trigger, so now it's looping a drum pattern. Okay, so this is a good start, but with the break it's also nice to be able to chop it up and so forth. So let's have a look at using some of the other inlets on the sample to choose start and end locations for sample points and things like that. So we'll make sure we get our order of execution correct here. Just going to place that one. And then before that, every time we're going to mess with the starting location in the sample. So I'm going to break the sample into 16 parts. Just put a number box there so we can see what that does. So what this will do is it will change the start location. So whenever I bang it, we'll get a new start location. Which is fairly subtle at the moment, and we only hear it once every loop. So if we also send an end location, then that's also a useful thing to do. Let's start with some simple math. So I just need to know what value it is 1/16 of the way through, and then if I add that value to whatever is coming out of here, that can be our end location. So now you'll hear we're sort of stuck on 1/16 section, and every time I change that, so that's cool. So let's trigger that every time. Now I'm just going to make sure that we've got this one toggle controlling everything on and off. So it's going to be a little bit of a slight glitch here. I'll make it as minimal as I can. Just basically restarted everything. Make sure it's all in sync. So this is the use of samples for doing that. Just turn that volume down again a little bit. What are some other things we can do? We've got, I just add in something for these samples. Just put a low pass filter on them just to sort of vary them a little bit. I'm going to need 2 of those because it's in stereo. Actually put that down here. Okay, so that's going to go into there. This one's going to go into here. We need to, of course, set filter cutoff amount. Just make that something to get us started. And as I sub these in and out, you get dropped our volume quite a bit, so I'm going to turn it up a bit more. Okay, so we can hear the change in there. It would make sense for us to try and automate that. So I'm going to use one of our periodic objects from the live coding toolkit, which is kind of equivalent to like a low frequency oscillator, if you like. Actually, I'll make it go over quite a long time, take it 64 steps. Spell periodic correctly. Okay, get it running and let it automate that amplitude. Oh, that's going to send before I do that. It's going to do things in mini pitch range, so let me change that to frequencies. Okay, so that's how that goes. Let's finish it up. Okay, so that's introduced you to sample in particular, and we've reused some of the other objects from the live coding toolkit that we looked at in earlier parts of these introductory tutorials, although we've also introduced the randchord object as well in this particular video. Okay, so have fun playing with that, and I'll see you in another video.